What is going on, Misfit Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Misfit Wrestling Podcast. I am your host behind the mic, Matt, the Misfit. Tonight we're going to go over a very good and solid episode of SmackDown. I thought, storyline-wise, not really much great wrestling, but the stories that went into this show and came out of it was either great or fantastic. I'm talking about all the good stuff that happened on this show here. We found out who Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to defend their tag team titles against next. More tensions between IYO SKY and Bayley. Bayley getting a taste of her own messing by IYO SKY. And my favorite part of the show, the Bloodline. This fucking storyline is... it's one week I was getting bored of it, and the next they just somehow make me care about it again, and I just love that. But before we talk about all that stuff here, let's plug the show. Okay? YouTube.com/@MisfitWrestlingPodcast. You can listen to the reviews on those on this channel, obviously. Like the SmackDown review tonight. Hit that like button, comment down below, hit the subscribe button, all that good jazz. You can watch the other reviews that we've had up here. We have the AEW Dynamite review it actually is on the channel right now. We have the Monday Night Raw review from this past Monday. All that good stuff here. You can follow the social medias, Misfit Wrestling Podcast on Misfit Wrestling Pod on Instagram, Misfit Podcast TV on Twitter. The audio outlets where I'm going to plug the show, the Pile Driver Pulse, which will be episode 2 will be up on Sunday. It'll be available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher Radio, or Stitcher, whatever you want to call it, Audible, and Pandora. Of course, I mentioned the Pile Driver Pulse Wrestling Roundup. Go over the other stuff that happens in professional wrestling. We will talk about Rampage on that show. We will talk about NXT, Ring of Honor, a little bit of the news for New Japan Pro Wrestling, some of the stuff from maybe if I can find something to talk about for Stardom, I will talk about that, and maybe some other rumors and news and stuff here. I will not be talking about the CM Punk interview that dropped today on ESPN. That will be saved for Collision tomorrow. One thing I will talk about for Collision, we do know the AEW Collision announced team is going to be Kevin Kelly, Nigel McGuinness, and Jim Ross. We did also find out that Kevin Kelly did confirm that for the G1 he will not be available for Collision. He will be in Japan for Collision, so somebody else will be filling in for him. Most likely going to be Ian Riccaboni from Ring of Honor, which I'm perfectly fine with. I like Ian Riccaboni. Kevin Kelly is one of my favorite voices in wrestling right now, followed by Michael Cole. Michael Cole right now is one of my other favorite ones in WWE. After Vince got out of his ear, he's so much better without Vince in his ear. And maybe third or fourth is either Ian Riccaboni or Excalibur. Excalibur could say night off finally, so that's good to hear. But SmackDown, let's talk about SmackDown here. SmackDown opened with a tag team gauntlet here. We had the Pretty Deadly Hit Row OC Street Profits, Brawling Brutes, and the LWO. The winner of this match would have gotten a number 1 contenders match on the Go Home edition of SmackDown for Money in the Bank, which is, I'm still surprised it's not happening on the pay-per-view, but that's neither here or there. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn is watching in the back here. Getting ready for this match here. Sheamus and Rich Holland, Brawling Brutes, come out with Pete Dunne, who is in Money in the Bank himself, who's most likely getting not repackaged, but reverted back to Pete Dunne at Money in the Bank. That's my prediction here. This match started off with the Street Profits and the Brawling Brutes, which was actually pretty good. Both teams are great. I love both teams. Dawkins delivers a flying back elbow thing he does in the corner here. Delivers a right hand. Sheamus tags in. Who was getting beat up in the corner was Rich Holland. Delivers a big boot then pins Dawkins to eliminate the Street Profits, which did surprise me that the Street Profits get eliminated very quickly. But they are setting up a heel turn for both Bianca Belair and the Street Profits. The rumor is the Street Profits are turning heel. It's looking more and more likely now on television that Bianca's turning heel. Next up, the OC came in the match here. Gallows and Anderson come in the ring. Gallows slides in the ring, delivers a right hand, then tags in Anderson. Anderson and Gallows land an assisted net breaker. They went to the commercial break. Gallows, coming back from break, Gallows sends Sheamus into the mat. Then follows it up with an elbow to Sheamus' head, which I'm assuming bruised Sheamus' right eye because Sheamus started to hang a bruise on his face during the rest of this match here. Anderson gets in, fires off some right hands, then tags in Gallows back in. Gallows delivers a kick and a right hand, then follows it up with a suplex and a big boot. Sheamus responds with a battle slam, but Anderson tags in Sheamus, then catches him with a boot and eliminates pins Anderson to eliminate the OC. I'm getting a sip of my drink there. Got me a nice Propel water. It's pretty good. LWO is in the ring next. LWO still can't get a break here. Again, they're over, but they just can't get a break here. Sheamus hits a big boot on Raul Mendoza. I'll just call him Raul Mendoza because that's what I remember him as. Hits a boot on Mendoza. Ridge Holland then delivers a Yokozuna cutter to eliminate the LWO. This is probably my favorite thing in this entire match. Hit Row was in and Hit Row was out. Like fucking Flop Dollar comes into the ring, gets immediately hit with a bro kick, and is eliminated. And I fucking died at Michael Cole with his fucking line of at the I think it was like, "Thanks for coming, Flop Dollar." Yeah, "Thanks for coming, Flop Dollar" was the line of the night for Michael Cole. That was fantastic. Then we go to break. Pretty Deadly eventually gets in the match with Brutes, and Pretty Deadly wins after a blind tag while Sheamus is trying to deliver the Razor's Edge to Kit Wilson and tries to pin him, not realizing that the Elton Prince tagged in, like blind tagged in, sends to the top rope, lands a leg drop onto Sheamus and pins Sheamus, eliminating the Brawling Brutes, and Pretty Deadly get the number one contender spot in London on the SmackDown Go Home show for Money in the Bank. Then they are confronted by Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn come out here. They says congratulates Pretty Deadly on winning, and says he didn't expect it to happen. I didn't expect it to happen until I put like 2 and 2 together. I'm like, huh, these boys are from the UK. They're going to be in London in a couple of weeks. Kind of makes sense to put on one of those shows. Sammy says that they've overstayed the welcome for 5 minutes by celebrating in the ring, then invites them to head backstage. Elton Prince says that was cute, and says that their hair is somehow drier than Sami Zayn's, hair, whatever, after beating 5 teams. Elton Prince then says that they had an all right interrupting him or Kit Wilson. Wilson says that despite what Zayn says, he and Elton Prince will stay as long as they want in the ring when they become the undisputed tag team champions. Zayn asks Owens if they're asked if they're bothering them. Owens becomes the one who watches the show and gets just fucking irate. He's angered by just the presence of being in the room with the Pretty Deadly, which was pretty funny. He says that he wants to punch Pretty Deadly in the face. Zayn agrees. They can go down to the ring. but pretty deadly retreats before a brawl could endure. Now, this is actually happens before the show started, because I forgot to mention this. Paul Heyman and the wise man, Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa arrived to the building early, and Roman, I had one of the best and the better lines on the night, said, wise man, your girlfriend's here, or something like that. It was funny. But then we go backstage later on in the show, after the gauntlet match, which wasn't as good as the past gauntlet matches we've seen. Then, like I said, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman's back there. Heyman asks Reigns if he's talked to Jey Uso. Reigns says that he hasn't, and says Jey should have reached out to him. He then demands Heyman to go find him and do so. So that's what happens. We'll get to that in a little bit here. IYO SKY taking on Zelina Vega. This match was more about the dissension between IYO and Bayley. This match was set up on the SmackDown Lowdown, Smacking Talk thing, whatever, where Bayley was going on to Zelina. Zelina starts asking, says, one of you two, I'll face you in a match next week, whatever. And Bayley was about to say, no one's going to do it. And then he was like, well, I accept. So that's how we got here. But distraction finish, obviously, by Bayley costing IYO to lose the match, basically. 619 to IYO, and rolled her up for the pin. And IYO looks just fucking. She's at this point where she is done with IYO SKY, or not IYO. She's done with Bayley. That's what I mean here. Then we go backstage. Adam Pearce is on the phone with somebody, or he's texting or something along the lines. Bianca walks into the men's house to know where her rematch is. Pearce says it's being talked about, and Bianca tells him that she went about getting the rematch the right way, but she's taking matters into her own hands now. Then we got the Grayson Waller effect here, which he didn't really say much here, but he introduces Charlotte Flair. Charlotte comes out here, makes her way to the ring. Waller asks Charlotte about her becoming women's championship match against Asuka in 2 weeks. Says that she is not going against the Asuka she faced in the past. Waller asks if she'll become a 15-time champion. Flair says that she has Asuka's number. However, before she continues, Bianca Belair's music hits and she makes her way to the ring. Bianca says Flair's accolades speaks for themselves. But questions why Flair gets to cut in line despite not being the one who lost the title. Even though she's got a point. The title that Flair's going after isn't even the title that she lost. The title that she lost is over on Raw. Well, kind of. Flair says the rules don't apply to her, and Flair says she didn't write the rules, refuses to apologize. She says the line starts and stops with her, or ends with her, something like that, and says that she never got a rematch with Rhea Ripley after losing. She says this, but then why the fuck are you on this show? Oh, that's right. She got drafted. See, that's the one thing I didn't like about her getting drafted to SmackDown, because I'm like, the title that she wants isn't even on the fucking show. I mean, come on now. Anyway, where was I? Bianca continues with her rebuttal here. Says that she tried to do her things the right way, like she told Adam Pearce in the back, and says that she stayed around to do so. She says that she didn't hide for 3 months like Flair did, but Flair objects and says that she picked herself up after every championship loss. She says that she's a champion with or without the title. Whatever. Ask if Bianca is the same thing. I'm like, no, neither are. I'm like, to me, I would be better off if neither had the championship. That's how I feel. Like right now, I'm safe because I don't want to see them as the fucking champion. Doesn't look like this is going to be the plan, though. Thank God. From everything I'm hearing, Bianca responds and says, reminds Charlotte that she's the longest reigning Raw Women's Champion of the modern era, and demands Flair put some respect on her name. She says that she'll be at ringside when Flair takes on Asuka in their title match in 2 weeks, and says she will face the winner face to face because the title is coming back to her. And that's how that segment ended here. Looks like they're going to go for the triple threat, possibly at SummerSlam. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We have 2 weeks to figure out what the plan is here. Whether they could just do the match again at like the very next night on Money in the Bank, but who knows? Then at some point here, we had before, I believe we had a segment. I'm trying to find it here because I wrote it down, and I'm trying to see where it took place because I don't know if it took place before or after. Maybe I didn't write it down. Anyways, I'm going to talk about it now here. We had a segment backstage here. IYO SKY telling Bayley multiple times to stop getting involved in her matches. Do you not trust me? She says, I'm just trying to help. I trust you. But every woman for herself at Money in the Bank. But I'm trying to do. And before she even continues, in comes Shotzi. Shotzi asks, for somebody who's I don't know, every woman for herself or whatever. You cost me my match last week. I think it was last week. Don't quote me on that one. But she asks, why don't you put your money where your mouth is and put your Money in the Bank qualifying spot on the line against me next week? Before Bayley can answer, like the fucking boss that she is like, she accepts and has the shit-eating grin on her face. And I loved every bit of it. I'm like, oh, that is Queen's Quest EO. That is NXT EO. That's the EO I miss right there. That's the EO I've been looking for. And I loved every bit of it. And then it was even better. Not Charlotte. Shotzi walked off, and Bayley asks, "What'd you do that for?" And I laughed out loud at this one here. EO says, "I was just trying to help." And again, shit-eating grin. I loved it. The moment that EO turns on Bayley, that crowd is gonna lose their shit, and it's gonna be great. Next up, though, we had a mixed tag match here. AJ Styles and Mia Yim took on Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Match was nothing to write home about, but it got a win by Karrion Kross, who needed a win finally. But Kross pinned AJ Styles with a cross hammer, which is, I think that's what the move is. It was like a I don't know what to call it, but it looked really cool. But he hit AJ with it for the pin, and Kross and Scarlett get the win here. I thought it was pretty good. We found out next week it's going to be, actually, no, I don't know where I was going. I was for some reason I was about to cut all the way to the end of the show, and I was like, wait a minute. So we're backstage again with the Heyman, Roman, and Solo. Reigns asked Heyman how his conversation with Jey went, which I think I must have missed it here. Oh no, I skipped that one altogether. I'm sorry, we're talking about it right now. So before that segment happened, we had the backstage segment with Jey and Heyman. Heyman approaches him and apologizes for telling him the truth last week. He apologizes for Jimmy super kicking him in the face last week and says it was intentional. He says he meant to kick Roman Reigns at Night of Champions. He meant what he did last week. He says Jey deserves better than that before Jey apologizes for Heyman having Heyman kicked out if he remains in the bloodline or something like that. So back to the other segment with Roman Solo and Heyman. Again, Roman asked how the conversation with Jey went. I don't know why I skipped over that part. Heyman shakes his head like, yeah, it didn't go very well. Solo intimidates Heyman, who just like scares off Heyman and asks Heyman if he wants him to. He'll ask Roman if he wants him to handle things. Solo, that is. And Roman says, "Take it easy. There's plenty of time before the end of the night." Then we got Rey Mysterio coming out here. He says that he's accomplished many things in his career, but the one he's most proud of is reforming the LWO. Says that he's the person he's about to introduce is the essence, or represents the essence of the faction, and welcomes Santos Escobar to the ring. LWO's music hits. Santos Escobar he comes out and gets on the microphone. He says he's worked hard and made a lot of sacrifices to receive the opportunity of a lifetime. When he competes in the men's Money in the Bank match, he then tells Rey and thanks him before saying he's fighting for Rey, he's fighting for his family and everyone in the WWE universe who has a dream. LA Knight's music hits. He makes his way to the ring. He shoves Rey Mysterio before Santos Escobar catches him with a clothesline, drop kick, sends Knight into the ropes. Rey looks for a 619 LA Knight. Rolls out of the ring to, I guess, whatever it was, to go to commercial break. This match here didn't last very long. It was LA Knight, Santos Escobar. LA Knight tried to get a cheap roll-up win by holding the ropes, but Santos Escobar was able to reverse the momentum and pins LA Knight without having to use the ropes or anything. And Santos Escobar gets the win here. Again, quick match, nothing too much to write home about, but it builds more for Money in the Bank. Again, the show was about building stories for next week and the weeks can come going into Money in the Bank, which again I appreciate. That's one of the things I love about Triple H's booking. He may not have great in-ring wrestling every week, but he knows how to tell stories, and he knows how to tell stories for the coming weeks to go into the pay-per-view that's coming up. And that's one thing I like about it. After the match, LA Knight blindsides Escobar and rains down right hands on him. Rey Mysterio runs down to ringside, who I could have sworn he was out there already. It didn't make any sense for him to be out there for the promo, leave, and then come back out. It didn't make any sense to me. But he broke up the beatdown, and LA Knight leaves with a crowd pop. By the way, he's still getting mega over here. We'll see what Triple H has in mind for the men's Money in the Bank match. I have this feeling I know who has got planned to win to women's, but the men's I'm not 100% sure on. Then we go. Jey Uso is heading the ring for the closing segment of the show. He runs this as Sami Zayn. Sami gives him the nod. He just walks off. Out comes Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman, who has, for some fucking reason, still has the WWE and Universal Championships with him. The WWE title, I understand, because they're going to bring that back. They're going to keep that lineage and bring that title back once Roman loses the Undisputed Championship, whoever that will be. Roman asks Lexington to acknowledge him before he can continue. Jey Uso comes out here. Roman says he knows what fans want and says that they want answers. He asks him if he is in or out of the bloodline. Jey demands that Reigns be the one to tell him. He says it's either Heyman or me. Talking about Jey Uso, obviously. Reigns tells Jey he can pick anyone to be the wise man when he's the tribal chief. He says Heyman is his wise man, not the bloodlines. He's not Solo's wise man. He's not anybody's wise man. He's my wise man. He says that he was meant to get his family to the promised land. Jey is meant to keep them there. And he says that they've put 3 years into getting Jey ready to assume the position of the tribal chief, and says he's meant to lead, but not yet. Reigns tells Jey, Jey, his problem is his brother. Jimmy Uso comes out, and he cuts off Roman Reigns. Tells Jey that Roman is actually the problem here. He's just using you like a fucking puppet. He asks Jey if he really believes the shit that's coming out of Roman Reigns. He didn't say shit, but that's basically what it was here. Reigns says it took 10 years for the Usos to get on WrestleMania, but they've made an event at each pay-per-view since they've been with him. They can say that Jey can't be a tribal chief and a twin at the same time. Well, actually, he can. It's called life. But he continues here and says, as much as Jimmy wants to beg, the truth is that Jimmy is the only one who has the problem with Jey being the name the right-hand man. Jey took a look at Jimmy and stares Jimmy down and says, Jimmy had a trouble meeting his gaze, but Jey asks Jimmy if what Reigns said about him is true. Jimmy says it was. Jey starts pacing back and forth. He asks Jimmy if he's doubting him, if he's been doubting him this whole time. He says he expected that from Roman, but not from his own brother. He says, Jey says that he's heard growing up was listen to your older brother and says that he's been trying to keep up with Jimmy. Says he says Jimmy was the prom king, the player of the year, most likely to succeed. Jey says he stepped up when Jimmy got hurt, and been in countless main events thanks to Roman Reigns. He tells Jimmy that he's out of the bloodline, stares at him, and the crowd's like, oh no. And then, best part, he says, and I am too. Super kicks Reigns while Reigns is having the shit-eating grin on his face. Didn't see it coming. Super kick to Roman's face. Then Solo's like, what? What the hell, guys? He then gets involved, tries to run after Jey. Jey ducks for Jimmy to hit him with a super kick, and it looked beautiful. Roman's Heyman's out there pleading with seems like he's pleading with God or whatever. I don't know. Roman gets his face and says, we don't need you. We don't need any of this. And boom, double super kick to the face by the Usos to Roman Reigns. They hold up the 1Ds, and that's how the show goes off the air with the crowd losing their shit. And I want to point out a quote from Cody Rhodes back in March, heading into his match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. He said this, and I quote, "There will be a man without a family, a Roman with no more reigns, and a chief without a tribe." He's also said that, Jey is going to leave you, Jimmy is going to leave you, soon to be Solo, who's been glaring at me this whole time. You ain't ready. He's going to leave you. And this wise man who's going to go back to be an advocate is going to leave you. And we're seeing it. The prophecy of Cody Rhodes that he mentioned back in March is happening. And it was so good. What a way to close this episode of SmackDown. I thought this was a tremendous episode of SmackDown when it comes to the building of stories. The wrestling wasn't that good, but it was more about the story building on the show here. Like I said, IYO SKY and Bayley tensions continue with Bayley's, or not with Bayley, with because next week it's going to be Bayley and Shotzi, the winner of that match. It's either Bayley's going to stay in Money in the Bank or she's going to be out. We also found out next week, we do know this one, it's going to be Isla Dawn and Alba Fire defending their NXT Tag Team Championships against Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, who's going to defend their Women's Tag Team Championships, and they're going to merge the titles there for that unification match. I think there's another match on that show. There's either a match or a segment, something else is happening on the show that I don't know. But like I said, IYO, they're planting the seeds there. Plans still, from what I understand, is going to be IYO defending, possibly winning Money in the Bank, and being planned to be the one to defeat Asuka, rather, become the championship and get some type of lengthy reign with the title because they want a successful championship run with her. WWE is mega high on IYO SKY, as they should be, and I'm excited for that. We also the stuff with the Bloodline is great here. Pretty deadly, getting the story of what they're going to do for the next couple of weeks, feuding with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The other story, I believe the other story is something else. I can't remember what it is, but that was SmackDown. I enjoyed SmackDown this week for the stories, and I'm excited to see where the rest of the Bloodline stuff is going to go. I can't wait to see IYO on purpose cost Bayley her match next week. That should be fun. But tomorrow we got AEW Collision. That's going to be a hell of a card here. We got Buddy Matthews taking on Andrade El Idolo. We have Willow Nightingale teaming with Sky Blue to take on the AEW Women's World Champion Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. Also, Willow Nightingale is the New Japan Strong Women's Champion. We also have Miro returning in action. He will be on the show too. Luchasaurus will challenge Wardlow for the TNT Championship. We did find out that The Acclaimed will be on the show. We found out during Rampage they will be on the show to do something. And the return of CM Punk. He'll be cutting a promo and he'll be teaming with AEW Tag Team Champions FTR to take on Ring of Honor Ring of Honor TV Champion rather, Samoa Joe and Switchblade Jay White and Rock Hard Juice Robinson in the main event with Kevin Kelly, Nigel McGuinness, and Jim Ross calling commentary. I will see you guys tomorrow night for Rampage. Not Rampage. I will see you guys tomorrow night for Collision, debut episode of Collision. Depending on if I'll try to do more Collision reviews, but I will be doing the debut because it's a big show. But until then, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for Collision. I've been Matt the Misfit. This has been the Misfit Wrestling Podcast. We're out.